Welcome to Deck Analysis and Testing. This time we are looking at MAGIKEY. MAGIKEY is not a good deck. Basically, it revolves around all summoning types except for Pendulum, and it is cheap, but this deck is so resource intensive that you have to spend your entire hand to make 2 disruptions that basically only work against Light and Dark, and maybe a Spell Trap Negate, and if your opponent plays through it, you better hope you top deck MAGIKEY. Let's take a look at the cards. First is our main deck boss monster. It's a level 8 ritual. It basically has a monster negate if you have the same attribute as the monster that is activating the effect. So usually this will be able to negate light and dark monsters. Next is our other ritual monster. This is one of our starters. If this card is ritual summoned, you add any MAGIKEY card from your deck to your hand, and then if it declares an attack or is attacked, you could negate the opponent's monster's effects and also return your cards from your hand back to your deck and then draw the same amount of cards. You usually just use it as one of your starters that searches your combo pieces. Next is MAGIKEY Mafteal. This is our main tuner, our main Xyz material, our main special summonable level 4, and also our main light monster. So this cannot be used as a Synchro or Xyz material except for a MAGIKEY monster. And also if you control a MAGIKEY monster, you can reveal this card, you get an extra normal summon, and when this card is normal summoned, you could revive a level 4 or lower MAGIKEY from your graveyard. This basically gives you material to make a Synchro or Xyz, and you usually will be making the Synchro because the Synchro is probably the best extra deck monster that we have right now. Next is our main monster that the entire deck is revolving around. It is a level 4 vanilla. It doesn't do anything. It's a dark, I guess. And for our field spell, this is probably the best card in our entire deck. This, when it's activated, you search MAGIKEY monster per deck to your hand, and also it gives your non-token normal monsters protection. And once per turn, you could return 1 card from your hand to the deck and then add MAGIKEY Mafteal from your deck to your hand. So this searches both your monster and your ritual and fusion spell. Speaking of which, we have MAGIKEY Mafteal. This is basically both a ritual and fusion spell. You can choose whatever effect you want. It's not technically a ritual spell. So it's a normal spell card, but it does allow you to ritual summon your ritual monsters or fusion summon your fusion monsters. And it is really searchable with your field spell and your ritual monster. And we're also playing 3 copies of MAGIKEY Battle. This is basically the Forbidden Lands of the deck. If your opponent activates a effect and you chain MAGIKEY Battle, it allows your monsters to not be affected by that effect. And we are playing a copy of Terraforming just to search a really good field spell. For the traps, we're playing 1 copy of Unlocking. This is searchable with our Synchro monster. It is a Spell Trap Negate. And also you can declare an attribute after it's activated, and all of your opponent's monsters become that attribute. So even if your opponent is not playing a light or dark deck, you can use this effect to turn all of their monsters light or turn all of them to dark, so you can also use your monster effects on your opponent's monsters that aren't light or dark. And finally, we have MAGIKEY Duel. This is a normal trap that allows us to recycle a MAGIKEY monster from a graveyard back to the hand, and then lets us immediately ritual summon or fusion summon a monster using stuff from our hand or field. This is a really good way for us to bring out our level 8 monster during our opponent's turn, and this card is also searchable with Synchro, which is really nice. For the extra deck, we have the Fusion. The level 8 Fusion lets us once per turn, target a normal monster or MAGIKEY in your graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls with the same attribute as that monster. And also once per turn, if an opponent's monster with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard is destroyed, while this card is fusion summoned using 2 different attributes, you can draw a card for free. And also, I don't know why, but this card cannot be responded when it is fusion summoned. Next is our second fusion. It's a level 4 one. It's also a tuner, but we barely make this card because it's not very good. If it's fusion summon, you can add back the MAF-T from your graveyard back to your hand, and also once per turn, you can target an attack position monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as a normal monster or a magic key in your graveyard, and then switch it to defense, and then it loses 1,000 defense. For the Synchro, that is probably the best extra deck monster that we have for Magikey. It can attack twice on monsters, and also once per turn, you can set a Magikey spell or trap from your deck directly to your spell and trap zone. So this searches any Magikey spell or trap except for this field spell, because the field spell cannot be set in the spell or trap zone. Which sucks, because the field spell is the best spell or trap that you could get with any Magikey search, but unfortunately you kinda can't. And also, if your opponent normal or special summons a monster with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard, you can destroy that monster as a hard once per turn. And finally, we have the Xyz. It's also not very good, but I mean, we only have one Xyz, so we kind of need to play it. It needs 2 level 4 monsters, and if this card is Xyz summoned, you detach one material and then add back a level 4 or higher normal monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And also, if this card has a normal monster as material, it gains an effect that allows it to, at the start of a damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster with the same attribute as a normal monster or magic key monster in your graveyard, you detach one material, and then your opponent sends that monster to the graveyard. And this effect is not technically your effect, it forces your opponent to set it themselves, so it gets around effects that makes them unaffected by card effects. It still works because technically your opponent is the one sending it. For a skill, we're playing a Life Point Boost Alpha. You probably know what that does, it just gives you 3 life points because this deck doesn't really need a skill, so we're just playing whatever. You can also play D-Draw or stuff like that if you want, but I just like Life Point Boost Alpha. Okay, so for the expensive version, basically what we have done is just add more field spells, because this deck is so resource intensive that you don't really have space for non-engine. So the most that we could do is adding a 3rd copy of both MAF-Teal and the Sky Blaster because it's a super rare, and also add more copies of field spell because it's the best searcher. And that's basically it. We also removed a couple copies of the Ritual, and yeah. And also we only played a single copy of MAF-T because it's searchable with the field spell. And the extra deck, we were playing a couple of generic Xyz that we could theoretically get into, but we will barely even use any other extra deck monsters other than the Synchro monster. So yeah, let's have a look at the replays. Okay, for our first game, we were going second. We were facing against Kaiba, probably playing Blue Eyes. Yep, he's playing Blue Eyes. And let's see what we've got in our hand. That's not very good. This hand does nothing. As you can probably tell, this deck is not very good. And we really need to open with either the normal monster or one of the spells that grabs MAF-T to unbreak this hand. Our opponent is going to make a Spirit Dragon, which is kind of annoying because Spirit Dragon could tag out into an Azure Eyes, and the Azure Eyes is not something that we can easily out because all of our monsters don't have more attack than his Blue Eyes monsters. And luckily we drew the MAF-T, which means we could combo off. We could make Betos Buster to search a copy of the field spell. We're going to activate the field spell grab the normal monster, activate the field spell again to grab the MAF-T again, and shuffle back the trap that we can't use this turn. We're going to use MAF-T to fusion summon this time. We're going to make the fusion monster, and then we're going to normal summon MAF-Teal to summon back the normal monster, and then synchro summon into Synchro monster. And now we have a light in our graveyard. We could activate the fusion monster's effect, and our opponent doesn't read, so he's gonna be destroyed, and we can just attack for lethal. And that is why you always read your opponent's cards. Okay, during our next game, we are also going second. Opponent is playing Blasting Portal. I don't know what the skill does. And we do have Terraforming, so that's good enough, I guess. Our opponent is playing Live Twin. He's going to normal summon Kiss a Kill, summon Leela, and then summon Evil Twin. I'm just gonna fast forward this for a bit. He's gonna summon and then set a bunch of cards. I believe he's gonna get backup secretary. I don't know why, but he's gonna set one and pass. We're gonna activate terraforming to grab a field spell, which does everything. We're gonna activate the field spell, grab the Mathtil as a free summon later. We're gonna also grab the fusion and ritual spell, activate the Mathtil that we just got to ritual summon the ritual monster. Betos Buster on summon will grab us the big ritual monster, and also we can activate the hand effect of Mathtil to give us an extra normal summon, and then use that extra normal summon to normal summon our Mathtil, revive back the normal monster to synchro summon our synchro monster. We're gonna set the trap from our deck to outside of the field. Our opponent is going to present. We can chain battle to make our monster not affected by his effect. So his power is just going to go to the graveyard. We can attack twice, and then that's actually enough for lethal. So it's time for game 3, and it is time to play the expensive version. We're going first this time, so let's see what we can set up. Our opponent is also playing Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes is quite popular. And we did open terraforming again. Let's grab our field spell. This will allow us to do our combo. And even for the expensive version, we are basically doing the exact same combo because we're not playing any non-engine, but we just get to open with the field spell more consistently. So we're gonna use the ritual monster to grab ourselves our combo pieces, normal summon our Mathtil. To revive our normal monster, we're gonna make the synchro. The synchro is really good. It's good both going first and second. Going first, we could set the trap, and then also use the quick effect pop to pop our opponent's stuff. And since our opponent is playing Blue Eyes, we could pop whatever thing he tries to summon. He's going to activate Reborn to summon back a Dragon Spirit of White. We're gonna use counter trap to negate his monster Reborn. And then he's going to normal summon a Blue Eyes, which is fine. We can still use the Synchro Monsters effect to immediately pop it. And then he's going to scoop. Yeah.